Hello, I'm going to give a brief demo of Salesforce Enterprise Territory Management and how we could use it to manage our territories for next year. So I'm in staging and I've set up just enough territories to kind of give you the idea of how it can all work. You create hierarchical territory models. So I'm using the same structure we use now with segment, geo, region, area, territory. You set up rules at each level. So for large, our rule is going to be segment equals large. You can also add users at each level. And when you add a user to the territory, that comes with territory access levels. So we can set controls in here for what the users in the territory can see within Salesforce and edit within Salesforce. So right now it's set so that users in this territory can view and edit accounts assigned to the territory, and they can view all opportunities associated with accounts in the territory, regardless of who owns the opportunities. There are several choices here of how we can set up our access controls, and we may potentially be able to use this for our safe visibility instead of what we're doing now. I think this might be a little bit easier. So that's kind of our top level there. And then if we go down one level, okay, now we're on a mayor. You can see here that we are inheriting the rule from the level above. So we've got the segment equals large, and then we can set up a rule for this level. So now we're at geo. We're going to set up our geo based on UPA countries. And then we're going to apply this to its child territories. And then we can set up a user at this level too. So if we go back, I think you get the picture of where we're going. Segment, geo, region, area, territory. And we get down to the territory level, we're using states, zip codes, etc. We may also have a level in here for industry, for example, if we are assigning accounts based on industry rather than geography. You can set up territory types that give you different reporting for that kind of thing. So let's say we're at the bottom level on this territory. We've got our segment, geo, region, area rules inherited, and then we have one just for this territory. This one happens to be just US state equals Pennsylvania. And then at this level, you can set up multiple users. So we would have the sales rep who owns the account. And then we could potentially also use this to manage all of our overlay roles in a future utopian state where we can all agree on the same territory model. So we could have here our TAMs, our CAMs, our ABDM, solutions architect, field marketing manager, BDR, SDR, ISR, etc. And that way we could really easily control what all these people can see and do for the accounts in this territory. So the other thing you can do that I haven't showed yet is manually assign accounts. So if we have an account that we want to put in this territory, even though it doesn't meet the rules that we've set up, you can manually add it here. So we could use that, for example, for named accounts, so that we have a record within Salesforce of our named accounts and what territory they go with. And that is honestly pretty much it for enterprise territory management. That's basically what it does. So when you create your territory model, it creates a new object. And on the territory object, we can create custom fields. And one thing we could do with those custom fields, for example, is break out our segment, geo, region, area into separate fields so that we can store that data and easily access that data. We could also have stamped segment, geo, region, area, territory fields. Those could potentially be text fields that we data load one time on February 1st, the first time we run the rules when we deploy the territories. We can data load in the values at that time and then make those not editable after that. So that'll give us the answer as to where we carved the territory during planning. And then we can have the territory rules run every time the record is saved, so that if the employee count or address changes based on our live enrichment data, we can get our live territory answer potentially too. I set these up as formula fields. They are very basic, left, right, mid, looking for the underscores in the name. That works to a certain extent. It starts to break down if you get more than about 4 levels. 4 levels is kind of what we're at now. If we were really strict on our naming conventions next year and we had every territory name is segment, geo, region, area, territory, then this could work. If you start adding extra underscores or leaving bits off, like here, it starts to break down and not work. So we may or may not want to do this with a formula field. You could also do it with Apex code and use substring and get a little bit fancier. That's kind of up to interpretation, but I think the main thing is we are creating a territory object, and the territory object is storing all of the facts about the account that tell us where it should get assigned. Other thing I was going to show you is that the role in territory that you see on the users here. Here they've got their role in territory. This is a pick list, and you can set the values within territory management. The pick list would need to be controlled by sales ops, and we wouldn't want the values to balloon out too much. It operates separately from the user roles in Salesforce. So this is just within inside of territories. What is this person's role on this territory? And we can change the list. This is just for demo purposes of what we might have for roles. So it does not come with any reporting out of the box, but you can set up custom report types. I have set up a few, but I haven't built out a lot of reporting to show you. One example is you can do a report for accounts with their territory info. You can do accounts without territories. We could potentially do exception reporting here if we have accounts with, that our rules are wrong, and for whatever reason that account is meeting the rules for 2 territories. We might want to do some exception reporting for that kind of thing here. I will show you what it looks like on an account record. So remember, the data is not stored on the account object. Now it's in a separate territory object. So on the account record, what you get is a related list way down here at the bottom. So you get a related list for territories that it's assigned to and users in those territories. One thing I want to note here is you notice this account has 2 territories. You can only have 1 territory model in active mode, but within enterprise territory management, you can archive a territory model, and you can also set up territory models in planning mode. So one thing we could potentially do is have our FY23 model running, and we can have our FY24 model set up in planning mode and kind of be looking at both of those together. You cannot see this related list unless it's been added to the page layout. So we could be building things out here and not show them to anybody, but be building and testing here for the changes we want to make for next year. So that's what you get on the account record. Let's see, I wanted to show you about what happens when a new account gets created in Salesforce. So I'm going to go create a new account record, and we can kind of walk through the steps of what would happen as a new record comes in. So let's make it new account comes in the door. It gets created in Salesforce, It has not been enriched by ZoomInfo yet because that happens overnight. So right now we've got a new account. Everything's blank. We don't have an address. And down here at the bottom, we also don't have a territory or a user. So next thing that happens on this account is ZoomInfo is going to enrich it overnight. ZoomInfo is not connected to staging, so I can't do a real test of that here. So I'm going to fake it for the purposes of this demo. We'll say, okay, ZoomInfo is enriching this account. It's giving us the address. It's giving us the employee count. All right, so boom, ZoomInfo has enriched this account. Notice this checkbox down here. You can set it to evaluate the territory rules on save and have it checked by default. This is how we could get our live answer. So every time the address changes, it's going to reevaluate the territory rules. All right, so let's save that. Now ZoomInfo has enriched the account. So what that gives us is our address here at the account level and our UPA address. These are formula fields. The next thing that happens, you notice our segment is still unknown, even though we have an employee count. That's because our sales segment is based on the max employee count for the hierarchy. And this field gets set by the nightly account job. So next thing is I'm going to pretend I'm the nightly account job. I'm going to go in and put in the, oh, did I miss it? I'm going to go put in the max. There it is. All right, so now this is the nightly account job runs. It sets the max family employees. That is going to set our sales segment. So now we know it's large. We know where it's located. And that is the data that we need to assign the territory. So now at the bottom, we magically have an assigned territory and a list of all of the users who can see and work on accounts in that territory. So that's how it works when a new account comes in. I also wanted to show you, if I am sales ops, here's how I would manage territories. So let's say that our sales rep is leaving GitLab. So good old Larry, he's leaving. We're going to remove him as a user from the territory. We need to be careful about timing, because when we do that, that's going to affect his access to records in Salesforce. So, all right, Larry, he's leaving. We're taking him off of that territory. We're offboarding him. All right, and now we need to get a new user onto this territory. So let's say, let's do Jack. All right, Jack is going to be our new sales rep who manages this territory. So we've got Jack here. We're going to set his role in territory. Jack is going to be our strategic account leader. Save. And that's it. So that is going to give Jack access to view the accounts and opportunities in his territory. And that is how sales ops would manage users. The one thing it does not do is reassign accounts. So that's going to change the related list on the account record, but it doesn't change the account owner. For that part, we need something else. So we could use lean data potentially to just reassign the accounts to the territory user with the role of Sal or whatever. So that's it. The other thing I wanted to do was log in as Jack. So you can see if I'm Jack, what can I see? So let's log in as Jack. Okay, now I'm Jack. let's go look at my test account I created. I think it was this one. Got two of them open. Make sure I'm looking at the right one that is actually assigned in Jack's territory now. All right, so I'm Jack. If I scroll all the way down, Jack does not have the related lists for territories or users in his page layout. So Jack can't actually see anything until we add that to the page layout. And that's why I'm proposing we could do our planning here in production, where we can do a real test with Zoom info, with the account job, et cetera, et cetera. Things that are, we might not be able to do in staging, we could test here without showing it to anybody yet. If we add it to Jack's page layout, then it looks exactly like mine did. So you've seen what Jack would see. He also can see, one thing that I like about it is, I've already locked out, but he can see this pretty hierarchical picture. He can see everything here. He can see, if he clicks here, he can see the rules. He just doesn't have the buttons to manage. So he can't add accounts. He can't change users. He can't run the rules or add new rules, but he can hover over it and see what the rules are if he's curious about which accounts fall into a territory. So that is basically what I can demo for you at this point. Beyond that, we probably would want to do some testing in production. We may need some Apex code if we want to move data from the territory object back onto the account object. Once we've done that, that would allow us to test out a lean data flow, for example, for reassigning the account to the territory user. But that's kind of what I've got that I can show so far. Happy to have feedback and thoughts and questions about how it all might work. The one piece I can't show you yet, but hope to show you soon, is that the maps and territory planning piece. I think the way the flow would work next year would be we build out our FY23 territory model in planning mode in production so that we can run full tests. Then we clone it, and that's going to be our FY24 model in planning mode. We can push that into maps, do our optimization and changes of our territories, push it back into Salesforce. I think at that point, we would want to do all of our horse trading of accounts here in Salesforce. So if, a certain ASM wants a certain account, we would manage that in here rather than in a spreadsheet. And then when we're ready to launch, we would take our FY23 model and archive, and we would take our FY24 model and activate. So that is, it's one click up here, archive. And if it's not activated, that'll say activate. When it's not active, you can test the rules. So you can run the rules over and over and over and test to make sure that you've got the right accounts. And you can look at the accounts here that it's putting into the territory on screen, and you can also see them in reporting. So when you're in the reporting, you can see I'm looking at a particular model, but in here you can see models that are in planning or active or archived. So you could get the whole picture with reporting. So that's it. Thank you for your time, and we will discuss more.